Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I am Danielle, aka Stitcherista here on YouTube, and today is Wednesday, September 7th. Today is my wedding anniversary. Bill and I have been married for 9 years today, so yeah, that's something to definitely celebrate. So I'm off work today. We never get a job in for today. And you know, I'll have weeks like this where if you guys have watched the channel for any length of time, you will know that my job is not always consistent, where some weeks I'm really busy working late every night, and then other weeks I may have only one job or something like that. And you know, I've been doing this job now for over 20 years, so I've come to terms with it. And I used to panic, right? I used to panic when I didn't have jobs for 3 or 4 days in a row, because we all need money. And we all know I like to spend money too on cross stitch and makeup and all that kind of stuff. But over the last, I would say, year or two, I've really come to just accept it and think I'm meant to have that break for a reason, right? So that's exactly how I treat that. And I really try to relax and enjoy it, because you know, you can't also enjoy like this time, this break, without having the difficult days that, boy, do we have some really difficult days with work. So I am enjoying this time off. I did a lot of stitching yesterday. So yesterday I was off too. Wait a minute, hold on one second. Okay, that was my stepdaughter texting me. She is in school right now to be a sonogram tech, and she had to do a project where she had to make, like, put all the organs. She had to do like the upper body, a project where you demonstrated the upper body, and it had to be in 3D. So my husband helped her. They went to Michael's and did the organs by felt. It turned out really good. It looks really good. But she was texting me to say she was coming by to get it. And she didn't know my Bill was here doing his class by Zoom. He just told her he was in class. He didn't tell her that he was here doing it. So I just grabbed everything and put it by our coffee table so she can come in and grab it. But what was I saying? I stitched a lot yesterday. Yes, I definitely worked on my Prairie Schooler project. And I watched, there's a series on Hulu called Keep This Between Us. It's about a girl that was groomed and had a relationship with her teacher from when she was 16 until she was 22. And it delves into it and other teachers where it's happened. It was quite interesting. I want to say it was 4 episodes, and I watched the whole thing. I mean, I stitched a lot yesterday. And then I started watching that new series called The Patient with Steve Carell. It is nice to see him in a drama role, not like from The Office. It's so good. I'm on the 3rd episode, and I think there's only 3 episodes so far. So, but remember, I'm working on the Prairie Schooler Bump in the Night. And yesterday I stitched so much, I finished this block up here. It's looking so good, right? I'm doing the border as I go along because I don't want to wait until the end and then be trying to do the border. So since I got up to the top and knew where the border was, I cut the paper. That's how close I'm going to be to the edge. It's only two squares away from the edge. But yeah, so now the next block I'm going to do is right here. And the original block was this, which I don't know what that is, but I don't like it. So what's nice is they give you on the back, they give you 2 extra blocks like to do as ornaments. So I'm going to sub out. I like both of these. So I'm going to do this block in place of that one. And then down here, I don't really like the cat either, that one. So I'm going to put this one right here. So yeah, I'm waiting. I'm going to do the witch last because she's so big. I'm going to do all the other blocks and then do the witch last. But yeah, I'm aiming to have this done before I go to, which I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. I would like to have this done before I go to the retreat. The next retreat is in 2 weeks, 2 weeks from tomorrow. I don't know if I can have this project done in 2 weeks, because I would like to work on my other one, my Primrose Cottage Stitches one, with the paper that I colored. But regardless, I'm going to bring both projects because I figure I'm going to I could probably finish this at the retreat if I don't get it done here. So that is my aim. I'm going to be doing the skeleton block next. I'm really enjoying it. Working with just 2 colors is nice. Now, there was some counting because the pattern for these blocks, the squares are smaller. So it's not like I could superimpose it right on top. And I'm like, all right, I got to find a spot where I can start it so it'll all line up. And I think I figured it out. So fingers crossed for that, right? Because man, is there nothing worse than having to pick out your stitches, and especially on paper, you know, the paper is sturdy, but it's still fragile at the same time. You have to be very careful when you're cutting stitches. You can cut that paper like nobody's business. So, but yeah, I'm almost through this bobbin. That's why I bought the other skein of 3371. I will definitely use that up because there's a lot of that color in that project. Okay, because the orange are the accents. The brown is the great bulk of it. So that was yesterday's stitching. And in the mail, I got a couple things. So I got the other project that I had bought from Fat Quarter Shop. And it is in their TypeFACE series. And I don't know if they have any other ones in this series. I'm going to have to look it up. But this one is Santa Claus. And I just loved it so much. Could definitely stitch it on black like they did. And they actually used all over dyed threads. They used 4 Classic Colorworks and a Weeks Dye Works. Now, the red I like, Classic Colorworks Ribbon Red for the hat and the nose. Love that. And then the skin is Perfect Pie Crust, which I like that too. But the other ones, like the white is Snowball and the black is Mascara. You don't really, the white is not variegated enough for me to use it, right? Just use white. But I do like the idea of using the red, the variegated red for sure. But yeah, something simple. I really love that. It'd be a fairly easy stitch, I'm sure. Yeah, love it. And they give you a DMC conversion, so they say to use, where is that? Oh, his beard, his mustache is outlined in gray, so you can be distinguished from his beard. So that is the color Lunar Eclipse from Classic Colorworks, but you could just use, yeah, for, you know, it's like, what, 30 stitches? I would not be buying an over-dyed thread for that. I'm very anxious to get my Needlework Expo stuff in. We'll see when that's happening. That'll probably come when I'm at the retreat. But I did get something in the mail yesterday, which pleased me to no end. So you guys know that with stitching on paper, the needle minders I use, I like to use lighter ones because it will weigh down the paper. And I've been looking for like foam pieces and small pieces that I can make needle minders out of. So I got this package in the mail yesterday, and it's from Shelly S. And she says, I hope all is well. A couple videos back, you mentioned you were looking for light needle minders. Well, I have tons of crafts, and I found some cute little things you can use to make small needle minders. I do hope they will be useful. And I absolutely, positively love them. Look at the ones that she sent. I am so very excited. I love them. I love them so much. Like, I'm going to do this one for the project I'm working on right now. It's foam. Um, she found some Christmas ones. Like, look at this. And I mean, there is an adhesive thing on the back, but I can probably pick that right off. Yeah, I picked it right off. And then you just put, I love that. Like, are you kidding me right now? And she just included, it's so very thoughtful. Like, look at this cool little gingerbread woman. There's a turkey in here. What's this? This is a button. Ooh, love that. Ha-ha, look at that one. Love that. Thank you so, so much, Shelly. I absolutely love all of them that you sent, and I for sure will be making needle minders out of these. Like, look at this one. I love stuff like this. And I just, you know, I looked when I went to the Dollar Tree, when I went and I got the fall stuff, and I didn't really see anything. These are fantastic, though. Thank you so, so much. I appreciate that kind of stuff so much from you guys. So awesome. I will be making a needle minder with this today. So I have come upon a new favorite food. And you know, I think we all go through seasons with food and things that we like. You know, we went to Coastal Salt for breakfast 2 days out of the 4 that we were there. And I got their grits, which are fantastic. And grits always remind me of my grandmother, because when we were kids and we had breakfast over there, she made them. And they were so, so good. Just simply with butter and pepper. Well, when we were at the grocery store on Monday, I told Bill, I said, I want to get some instant grits that I can make here for breakfast. And they make these and they come in the cup, and there's even like a fill line that you fill the water, you put it in your microwave for a minute. I had one of these for breakfast yesterday and lunch. It is something so simple and filling, like if you don't want like a big meal. And this is like definitely a comfort food for me. You know, like I said, it reminds me of my grandmother. This is also a perfect travel food, meaning when I go to the retreat in 2 weeks, I'm going to throw a couple of these in my suitcase, because this would be a very easy breakfast. Instead of me going to Chick-fil-A and getting like tater tots and their little chicken minis, I can go to Starbucks and get a coffee and have one of these. And even at lunchtime, if I wanted to, like I said, it doesn't look like it's a lot of grits, but it does fill up pretty good, and it is very filling. So very happy. I actually bought a case of these from Amazon. I'd only bought 3 at the grocery store, and I told Bill, I said, damn it, I already, you know, ate 2 of them yesterday. And yeah, so I bought a case from Amazon and they came today. So very happy about that. But okay, so I thought we would do a true crime story today, because I got a little bit of time, and why not? So today's story is Anne Bradley. And this is an old one. It's from the 1890s, 1800s. It was an affair that scandalized polite society in Salt Lake City, Utah. A very public extramarital relationship between a middle-aged U.S. senator and a young woman 30 years his junior. It would not end well, culminating in a crime of passion, a sensational trial, and a verdict that no one could have anticipated. This is the torrid tale of Arthur Brown and Anne Bradley. So, you know, Bill and I, on the way home from Ocean City, we listened to Bailey Sarian. She does true crime. And Bill said, man, you would have been really good at that, like just having a true crime channel. He's like, why don't you start a new channel? And I'm like, I can barely keep up with the one I have. And YouTube is so saturated with it anyway. There's so many people that do it and do podcasts that I just stick to what I'm doing, right? I still have a wish and a prayer, though, that somewhere, some way, shape, or form, my channel takes off and I could have it as my job. I would absolutely love that. Yeah, that would be really great. Like I said, you know, people say that God does not put a dream in your heart without making it possible or making it come true. So We'll see. I'm hoping that YouTube, that my channel is around, until I can retire in 15 years or something. And then I would just have this as my job, right? Some extra money. Anyway, Arthur Brown was born in Kalamazoo, Michigan in 1843. He matured into a handsome, charismatic, and intelligent young man who graduated with a law degree and later set up a successful legal practice in his hometown. I can't imagine what law school was like in 1843. What would that be like, right? But Brown was not the kind of man to let the grass grow under his feet. Sensing opportunities out west, he decamped for Salt Lake City, Utah, arriving in 1879. There he set up a new law firm and got involved in politics, quickly rising through the ranks of the Republican Party. When Utah achieved statehood in 1896, Arthur Brown was one of its first 2 U.S. senators. Anne Bradley had much in common with Senator Arthur Brown. Attractive and accomplished, she was a woman ahead of her time. A Missourian by birth, she had settled in Salt Lake City in 1890. There she became active in the city's social and arts scene in politics. Utah was one of the few states that allowed women to vote and hold public office. Wow, this is a long story. Holy shit. Anne took advantage of this and campaigned successfully for the post of Secretary of the State Republican Committee. That is what put her into the orbit of Senator Brown. Sort of like the show Scandal, with Kerry Washington and who's the guy, the president? He's a hunk of meat. She winds up working on his campaign and they fall in love. And the show was so good if you haven't seen it. And I think it's actually on Netflix or Hulu or one of those shows because it's been over for quite some time. Both parties were married at that time, Anne to a man named Clarence Bradley, by whom she had 2 children, Brown to his second wife, Isabel Cameron. In fact, he had divorced his first spouse to marry Isabel, who had been his longtime mistress. That might have served as a warning to Anne, but apparently it did not. Despite the differences in their ages, she was 23 and he was in his mid-50s. No judgment, seriously, anybody who wants that, but that would be me, like dating someone my dad's age. No. And when I was single, my dad was trying to set me up with some of his friends, and I said, please stop. So despite the differences in their ages, they became lovers. The affair would spell the end of Anne's marriage. Brown, though, preferred to play both sides of the fence. Although he frequently promised Anne that he would divorce his wife and marry her, he took no steps to make it so. Kind of like also in that movie, Tyler Perry, I love all of his movies, but my favorite movie of his is The Family That Prays. And there is a woman who is dating her boss and having this long-time affair, and it all comes out, right? And come to find out, the husband is never going to leave his wife for her, although she thought he would. And ooh, that movie was so good, though. But Brown's hand would be forced in 1900 when Anne became pregnant and gave birth to his son. Thereafter, he began pressing Isabel for a divorce, although he failed to disclose why he wanted to end their marriage. That would be weird, right? In 1902, so 2 years of that, frustrated by his wife's stubborn refusals, Brown pressed ahead and filed the paperwork, and at the same time, he secretly presented Anne with an engagement ring. However, the senator had vastly underestimated Isabel. The current Mrs. Brown was well aware of her husband's dalliances. Women always know. They know. It would have been impossible for her not to know since the word was out all over town. Fantastic. Now she sought to gather proof of the affair. A private detective was hired and soon tracked Brown and Bradley to a hotel. Thereafter, Isabel presented Arthur with an ultimatum. Either he withdrew the divorce petition or she would file a complaint of adultery. Ooh. At that time, adultery was on the Utah statute books as a crime and could see offenders arrested and even jailed. Oh. Aware that a conviction would ruin his reputation and career, Brown had no option but to drop his divorce petition. He promised Isabel that he had ended things with Anne, but of course that was a lie. The affair continued until Isabel followed the lovers to a hotel one day and she and Anne got into an unseemly screaming match in front of startled guests. Then things got physical, with Isabel grabbing Anne by the throat. Jesus. "Let me alone," she screamed as hotel staff tried to separate the women. "I will kill her." After that confrontation, the senator gave Anne a revolver to protect herself from his wife, and it was a precaution he would come to regret. Let me guess. One of the women killed the other women. The incident at the hotel had one other consequence for the senator and his mistress. Isabel Brown pressed ahead with her threats and filed adultery charges. As a result, the lovers were arrested and hauled before the courts. Arthur Brown entered a not guilty plea at his hearing and was acquitted. Really? Anne Bradley pled guilty but received no jail time, probably because she was pregnant. Her second son by Senator Brown was born in November 1903. So she had 2 kids by him? Or maybe it was her second child. Wait a minute, let me hold 1 second. Okay, that was my stepdaughter coming in to get her project. So I wanted to, ow, I just hit my knee. I wanted to make sure she had everything. Okay. With the threat of an adultery conviction now removed from the equation, Brown was free to refile his divorce papers, yet still he wavered. This time he told Anne that he could not leave Isabel because she was ill. Unlike the senator's other excuses, this one turned out to be genuine. Isabel Brown had been diagnosed with cancer. She died on August 22nd, 1905. Oh boy. That very same night, Brown told Anne to go ahead and... Yes! Okay, sorry about that. That was Bill yelling for me because I didn't know that she needed our hot glue gun and I had put it away and she needed it, so I had to go get it. Anyway. Okay, so that very same night, Brown told Anne to go ahead and finalize her divorce from Clarence Bradley. He was ready to make an honest woman of her and to be a father to his children. But despite this resolution, Anne would again be left disappointed by her lover's lack of resolve. Her divorce from Mr. Bradley was easily obtained since they had been living apart for several years. However, the senator proved almost impossible to tie down. Anne would have a third son in March 1906 before he agreed on a wedding date. June 2nd was set aside for the happy event, but as it approached, the groom was struck down by a mystery ailment. On the day itself, he called Anne and told her that he was too unwell to make it to the courthouse. Bizarre, right? And so it continued over the next year, with Brown sometimes committing himself to Anne and at other times offering evasive answers to her questions. They continued to share a bed, however, and Anne again became pregnant. Good night. That was in October 1906, and this time she decided that she had to press the senator on the issue. He was now the father of 3 of her children, with a 4th on the way. It was time for him to do the right thing. Good God, right? So it was that another ultimatum was issued to Arthur Brown, and this time it seemed to hit home. Finally, Anne felt that she had gotten through to him, that he was ready to commit to her and to their children. Arthur's only condition was that things be held in abeyance until he returned from Washington, where he was due to argue a case before the U.S. Supreme Court. Anne was happy to accept that and was positively upbeat as she bade her lover goodbye on December 1st. However, her positive outlook would last merely a day. On the same day that Arthur departed for the capital, she got a call from his office asking her to collect an envelope he had left for her. Inside was a pile of cash and a note advising her to buy a train ticket to wherever she wanted and to start a new life without him. Anne would take his advice regarding the ticket at least. The journey she booked was a one-way passage to Washington, D.C. She going to kill his dumb ass. How does he expect her in the early 1900s to take care of herself and her 4 kids by herself? What? The train journey was arduous, lasting 5 days with frequent stops. And she's pregnant, mind you. Eventually, on December 8th, 1906, Anne arrived in the capital. She knew that Arthur was staying at the Hotel Raleigh, so she went there directly, introduced herself as Mrs. Brown, and gained access to his room. There she sat down to wait for Brown's return. While she waited, she spotted an envelope lying on a desk, opened it, and started to read the letter inside. It was a passionate note from the well-known actress Annie Adams, expressing her love for the senator and delighting in the fact that they were soon to be married. What? The letter was a devastating blow to Anne. No shit, right? The ultimate betrayal by a man she had devoted much of her life to. Tucking it back into its envelope, she left the room, left the hotel, and spent the next few hours aimlessly wandering the streets of Washington. Exhausted from her long train journey, in a weakened state physically, and now extremely emotionally distressed, she thought of ending her life with the gun she was carrying in her bag, the same revolver that Senator Brown had given her for protection all those years ago. But she was not about to leave this world without letting Arthur know what he had done to her. After hours spent walking the unfamiliar streets, she headed back to the hotel. The senator had returned by the time that she had arrived. "Come in," he shouted when she knocked on his door. The look on his face when she entered vindicated her decision to confront him. Since Anne would later claim no recollection of what happened inside the room, we cannot say for sure how the shooting occurred. However, powder burns found on Senator Brown's hands suggest some kind of a tussle during which the gun was discharged. A single shot was fired and hit the senator in the gut, thereafter angling downward and lodging against his pelvis. He was still alive when hotel staff responded to the sound of the gunshot. Rushed to a local hospital, he would linger for 5 days before he died. Thereafter, Anne Bradley was charged with murder. On the face of it, this was a very winnable case for the defense. Several letters had been found in Anne's possession, which could easily be interpreted as suicide notes. Her attorneys believed that the best strategy was to claim that she had wanted to shoot herself in front of the lover who had spurned her, that they had tussled for the gun, and that it had accidentally discharged during that struggle. The problem was that Anne refused to play ball. She insisted that she had deliberately shot the senator and was therefore responsible. With the trial fast approaching, and with Anne Bradley's lawyers making little headway in preparing their case, a prominent Utah attorney named Orlando Powers decided to get involved. Powers wanted to try a different approach. If Anne wouldn't support the accidental death defense, then he wanted to enter a plea of temporary insanity. To secure Bradley's cooperation, Powers pulled off a master stroke. He obtained a copy of Arthur Brown's will, which showed that the senator had entirely disowned Anne and the children he had fathered by her. With that betrayal exposed, the accused murderess finally agreed to cooperate. Anne Bradley would spend nearly a year behind bars before the matter eventually came to trial on November 13, 1907. The prosecution's case was simple. It contended that Bradley had followed the senator to Washington, intent on pressuring him into marrying her. When he refused, she drew the gun and shot him. This was an assassination, pure and simple, and should be punished accordingly. For the defense, Orlando Powers brought in 3 psychiatrists who offered their opinion regarding Anne Bradley's state of mind and provided insight into her family background. It appeared that there were several of her kin who had suffered mental breakdowns. Additionally, there were witnesses who spoke to the character of the deceased. Brown's former law partner, Henry Henderson, was particularly impactful. He testified that he had dissolved their partnership because he disapproved of the way that Brown treated women. Finally, there was a physician who told the court that Anne Bradley had undergone numerous abortions during her relationship with Senator Brown, some of them performed by Brown himself. What? So, I don't even know what to say to that. So she had been pregnant. I mean, I'm guessing there was no birth control in the 1900s, right? Early 1900s. This can cause physical and emotional damage, he contended, and can lead to irrational behavior, particularly in stressful situations. Yeah. As the matter went to the jury, Anne Bradley's lawyers were confident that their case would succeed. They were already preparing for the sanity hearing to follow. However, the jury took them totally by surprise, deliberating for nearly 9 hours before acquitting Bradley outright. It appears that the 12 esteemed gentlemen were disgusted by Senator Brown's conduct and had decided that the accused was deserving of their chivalry. After her acquittal, Anne Bradley returned to Salt Lake City, where she would see out the remainder of her life, most of it as the proprietor of an antique store. She died in 1950 at age 77. She never remarried. Not to mention, she had to raise all her kids by herself. I don't know how she did that. 4 kids. I'm sure it was difficult. Okay. That was quite the humdinger, wasn't it? Keep it in your pants, people. Seriously? Like, yeah. Okay. I hope you guys... Oh, let me say this. So someone had mentioned that they wished I would have vlogged our vacation. And I had thought about it, I'll be honest. But I literally record every other time I go away, most of the time. And I just wanted to enjoy those couple of days with Bill without having the pressure of recording every moment and then having to piece it together when we got back. So that's why I didn't do it. So, yeah, Bill and I are, when he's done his class, we are going to the grocery store and getting steak and baked potatoes for dinner. So that should be really good. So I hope you guys all have a great rest of your day. As always, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments section below, and I will answer them to the best of my ability. Thank you so much for watching and subscribing, and I will see you in my next video. Bye, guys.